Wholeness, beautiful beings, welcome to Notes of Nara. My name is Naja Rashida, and may this message find you well and whole. Okay, so today's topic we have presence. How your present action actively designs your life. How your present actions are actively designing your life. I've studied Bob Proctor for a while, for about, I think maybe not a while, but 2.5 years. I just listened to his audios on repeat. I was studying his intellectual, or his take on intellectual, or developing intellectual faculties. And he really emphasized action, the power of action, what lies behind, action. My father, and as a woman, from a father to a daughter, this is the most important thing because, and I am going to bring genders into this. Women and men, we are the same but different. All men are the same but very different from each other, very unique. All women are the same but very different from each other, very unique. Women and men have certain specific essence about them, how they conduct themselves, how they go about the world, how they interpret the world, how they express themselves, how they discover themselves, how they express their heart, their feelings, and their actions. So I say all of that to say this is not just pinning male against female, women against men. I'm not on that kick, or divine feminine and masculine feminine. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing any gender roles, but I will use this as an example. My father, we have a unique relationship, and although, he was very present in my life, okay? Which I don't want to go into the details of that, but we have just a very unique bond, I think I was 12 years old, and we would do these movie dates once a week, and coming back to the Midwest as a child, my dad made an even stronger effort to be a part of my life. And so once a week we'd go to a movie. And as I was getting older, I was about maybe 12, I think. I was 12 years old. And we went to see Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, with Angelina Jolie, which I think she's the best version of Lara Croft, because I played PlayStation when they first came out with that video game. Oh, that's a nerd in me. But anyway, just thought she was so badass and so strong, And there's a character, I think played by Gerard Butler, I believe. And this man and woman, like, they loved each other, right? They had a connection, a deep, like, it was just there. And towards the end of the movie, and they were actually playing villains. So they loved each other and were into each other, but what was the goal at the end? And that was to save humanity, and he was doing the opposite. And so at the very end, I remember it was like Pandora's box or something, and he was trying to pry it open. It would bring the world into chaos. And she had to make she was either going to reach for the box, the Pandora's box, or some mystical tool or something, or him, knowing all of his actions and all of his behaviors and the potential of where that could go if he were to choose to save him first. And so she chose to save the world. And I was like, dang, so I was, after the movie, walking out in the parking lot, and my dad, he stopped, because we would always have discussions on film. We would always talk about the deeper meanings of film. And this is when I'm like 10, 11, 12 and on up. Like, my dad always had me think outside the box. Don't suppress and oppress. Just think outside of what you're being told. Very occultic and very esoteric type of upbringing in that regard. And so we're walking in the parking lot, and he's like, Naja, be Lara Croft. And I said, what? He's like, be Lara Croft. I'm like, what do you mean, Dad? And he's like, listen, you know how she loved the guy. She loved the guy. She wanted to save him. She was crying. She had one tear. She was crying. But then she saw the box. And if she saved the guy, then all humanity is lost, right? And if she, would save the trinket or something, I can't remember what it was, because it's back in like 2002, 2003. And but he's like, but she would save the whole world. And he said, the thing is, I want you to understand, is be very, very mindful and heartful of who you put before you, right? And then, and I tie this little conversation I had with him over 20 years ago, or 25 years ago, yeah, 20 years ago, and I tied it with another, this was, I think, I was in my teens or maybe really early 20s, like 19, 20. I think I was a teenager. And he told me, because we would go to the cafe and we would have these conversations. And listen, I didn't live with my dad. I think I lived with my dad one summer, okay, when I was like 19. But all throughout my life, I lived with my mom. But I was very blessed to have an involved father, okay? Anyway, the one cafe visit discussion, we were just talking, sipping on our tea, and he's like, you must understand this. He said, be very, very aware of a person's actions. He said, as a man to his daughter, as a father to his daughter, I must tell you this, a man will show you what he's all about through his actions. And he said, remember when I told you be Laura Croft? And I was like, yeah, Dad, you know, because at that age, you're just like, here we go. Here's another long conversation. No. He said, a man's words and his thoughts, his feelings, even to the point of his subconscious mind manifests through his actions. And I'm not just pinning this against men or women, but it's more prominent in men, in all humans, okay? But as a father to his daughter, he was saying, you know, pay attention. Actions, behaviors speak, and they reveal, and they show. Actions hold truth. You may not know exactly what's going on in someone's mind or their heart, because usually if a human being is fragmented in some way, they're going to suffer from internal conflict. They're going to be at war. You have the higher nature, and then you have the lower nature self, and they're going to clash, okay? They're going to be pulled up, and another part's going to be pulling them down, or left, and the other part's pulling them right, and they're just all over the place. They can't distinguish what's true. But the one thing that's very true are the actions that are manifested from their whole being. So this is why I always say wholeness to you as a greeting and as a closing, if I am mindful to say it and heartful to say it. We are whole, right? Your actions it's easier to observe in others, but it's a bit more of a challenge to realize your own fragmentation within the self. Very difficult. This is why human relationships are so crucial and so important on a deeper soul level, because we are mirroring each other. We have to connect. We have to connect. And don't give me the, oh, I'm a loner, I'm an introvert, I'm a man in the mountain, in the cabin in the woods, and I don't need to be bothered by human beings. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay? I'm not talking about the ego, like self-preservation. Self-preservation. No, I'm not talking about that. To gauge character, to gauge someone's character and their mindset and their feelings, pay attention to the inconsistency and consistency of their actions. It will be very clear. Do not judge them. Don't call them out on it. There's no need to confront. Observe. Be the ultimate observer. Because in that present moment is where the truth lies. A lot of the time, especially if we love someone, or we love a job, or we love this place, or we love him, we love her, we love something, right? We will project our own stories and narratives into something that is an illusion. In order to break an illusion, you must be in the present moment. You must embody the present moment. Yes, it feels ugly. It looks ugly. Yes, it feels uncomfortable. Yes, yes to all of it. But it's so incredibly important. I must stress that. So it is very difficult to see this fragmentation within the self. When you're connecting with other beings, okay, we mirror back to each other what is broken, what needs to be healed, what is already healed, what's great in us, what is ugly in us. We do that, and it's so much easier when you're like, even down to your colleagues at work you don't like working with, or your housemates, or your lover, your friend, your sibling, neighbor. All of these, you remember the sphere that I keep talking about, spherical time? All of these, oh, my hair is coming down. All of these connections are fragments of consciousness wanting, desiring, pulling us together to be whole again. Consciousness wants to be one. Because in some way, with 9 billion of us on this beautiful planet, we're mirroring the fragmentation of consciousness itself, finding itself again. And through all of that, it's a journey. It's tough, right? So back to how actions actively design your life. The thing about being present with yourself and in the now is that you can call upon any timeline of your consciousness. I brought this up a bit ago in how to reach certain versions of yourself in different timelines, right? That they make Hollywood movies about. Doing this actually in the present moment, you begin with putting this into practice, you can access fragmented or broken parts of yourself and integrate them into the present moment that can help assist you to get to where you desire to be, that can help assist you into designing your life. It's very difficult to design a new path or new future in the present moment when you're fragmented and broken and you're at war with yourself, right? You're just in conflict. I love, but I don't love. I fear, I don't fear. I create, I'm not creating. I'm right, I'm wrong. I should, I shouldn't. And you do this over and over and over in the present moment because there's some little boy back in 2002. There's some little girl in 1989. There's some future part of yourself in 2021 or something, or 2029, right? And when you connect to these other aspects of consciousness on a quantum level like this, and you really put effort into it, you can then become whole and centered and make better decisions in the present moment. You know, another exercise I'm doing, so I recently started teaching again, right? I'm in the classroom with students. Jump right in. They had me back, welcomed me back. They're like, we need you, we want you here, glad to have you. I'm like, I was guided back, okay? I was. Despite everything. Because there's a higher order. There's a higher order to what's happening and how my life's unfolding. And I must have faith in it and trust in this. So today I was organizing all my paperwork, because even after this video, paperwork, documentation, and then I'm moving on to my personal time, personal things I need to deal with. I sat and I was writing down my organizer, my agenda, because I have multiple agendas. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to plan. I'm going to plan for the whole month. The whole month of September. All the things I need to do, right, as the month goes by, just because last year I was so overwhelmed. Like, this is doing that day and this month and that, blah, 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 blah. I want to be so hyper focused on the present moment that I give fully to the present now. And because the now it's actively designing the outcome that is meant for me. If I obsess about, okay, what about October? Okay, what about November? Okay, what about December? All right, next year, because I've been doing that, because I'm planning to move abroad. And it's big, it's scary, it's a big, big, big thing. And I'm noticing it's less big the more present I am and the more trusting and faithful I am to the present moment. Being faithful to the present moment is very important. If you are truly tuned into your actions and you bring yourself to the now, you're tuned into your actions actively design the outcome in which you desire, or in that you desire for yourself. Ain't no way around it. And I'm just going to be a little personal. This past summer, I was shot. I was not shot. Oh my God, I shouldn't say that. I wasn't shot. But I mean, I was completely kaput. I had nothing. I didn't want to do anything. I did the bare minimum. I did things I enjoyed. But my body was like, if you don't sit down, I'm going to put you down. And I said, you're right, body. You're right. I slept in. I mean, slowly I began to gain more momentum, especially after the trip from Europe. And especially now things are just picking up speed. But even like my music, I think the only instrument I consistently practiced was my flute, my Native American flute. But I chilled the F out. There were times I just was so in a lull of just resting my mind, doing things that brought me joy in a sense, right? And then a window opened, a portal opened, and I walked through it. And now I'm at where I'm at. The actions then created a certain outcome for something to open, and I was ready to receive it. All that resting, all that reflection, and then it just so happened that I had a heart awakening. And that rearranged my life in a much deeper way. You don't see it yet. You see me sitting in an apartment, in the States. You see me, talking, making these videos. But now I truly believe in cyclical, spherical time. It's real. It's it's feminine. It has feminine essence, but this is my new approach. So yeah, I want to give all that I can give to September, to the cycle of September, and honor that. Be more present in this month, the weeks, the coming days, the hours, right? Because there's a big goal that I want. I'm like, ooh, I want that. And we get so caught up in, ooh, I want that. We're fragmented. We're, and that's where the seeds of doubt and hurt and wounding and sabotage. Oh my gosh. Sabotage, man. I see it in my kiddos already. And the youngest now, because we blended grades, so like 11. low motivation, checked out, you know, and we teachers, we ask ourselves, like, where did they learn? Who told them this? Why are they so just disengaged? And I just think there's many, we can go, that's a whole rabbit hole. But yeah, that's what I want to share with you all. Actions actively design the outcome. They just do. There's no way around it. And if you're just so shocked, what? What? No. What have you been doing? What actions have you been taking? What are the behaviors? Behavior is a language to me. Action is a language to moi. My father said. You know, and he's not, and that's the thing, he's not, when I heard years later, I was 16 or 15, 16, when he said, be very mindful of the language of man. It's not what he speaks. It's not what he thinks. It's his actions that show character. Because my dad, he'll say this to this day, he doesn't like saying, I love you. He just doesn't. He said it when I was a child, but he has that phrase on the reserve. When he says it, he means it, right? That's when I know he's expressing it in words, because he feels so pulled and so called to express it in that way. But do you know, this man walked through the snow, the sleet, stormy weather, heat waves, blizzards to get to me. No matter how far I was, he demonstrated interest, loyalty, and there were times where he was broke, 2 beans and a lint ball. And in times of prosperity, and he always just showed up, no matter how much he had or didn't have, no matter if he had a car, no matter if he had a bike or his 2 legs. And so for me, action, yes. And Bob Proctor, that's the second man I saw, a completely different belief paradigm than my father. Completely different. But this man also, in his recordings, and I think even a book maybe I read that he wrote, he mentioned intellectual faculties and how they govern action. People, in the spiritual community, we get all heart chakra and above. We don't like to discuss the free will. We don't like the willpower. We don't like to discuss the sexual energy, the sacral, right? Uncomfortable, right? Or taboo. We don't like to talk about the root chakra, those deep core, traumatic, hardcore childhood memories that really dictate how much money we make, the type of lifestyle we have, where we live, and our health. Those are the things. Your lower nature, your lower energy centers, they rule the energy, or they rule how you relate to the earth plane. How fearful you are, how doubtful you are, how secure you are, how confident you are. There's this overemphasis of, open your heart chakra, love, free love, right? Speak your truth. Open your third eye. See the beyond, the beyond. Your crown chakra is closed. That's some ungrounded BS to me at this point, where I'm at. Be full, be all of it, right? Be all, be whole, be complete. That is so incredibly important, because even no action is an action. It's a behavior, right? To me, no action says a lot. It says a lot. It says it's a whole book. You can write a whole book on someone's behaviors, and they don't have to speak a word, right? like there's this thing called no contact, right? I always thought that was silly, right? But that the silence is loud. Silence can be very loud. So with that, thank you so much for tuning in, and may this message find you well and whole. Thank you. Goodbye.